Hi there, I'm Miss Laura with the Wichita Falls Arts Council, and today we're going to create a drawing that also acts as a repeating pattern. So what that means is if I were to make an exact copy of this drawing right here, and I were to place it next to it, if I push them up together, it would create basically a seamless picture going across. Or we can fold this and see what that would look like. So if I were to turn this over and fold in some of the edges towards each other, like this right edge and this left edge, the picture seamlessly connects. So at the end of the shark here, that connects right to the seam, as well as this ladder and this donut. We have an orange cat, banana, and I could even fold it down and up. And now I have a completed bowling ball, part of a cactus ladder. I can even fold it in the other direction because all of the edges should line up with each other. Or even folding in one edge and then maybe the top and the bottom. And then the same thing goes the other way. So this is a square, and I started with the drawing in the middle. I cut it apart and then taped it back together to create the seamless pattern. You can also do it with a rectangle, like this drawing here. So it's made in the exact same way, and it does the exact same thing. If I were to make a copy of this drawing, if I had an exact copy, no matter what side I put it on, it would always create a seamless transition into the next copy. Or by folding it, we can see how that transition, or what that transition would look like. Completed clock, planter, part of a hand turkey, cat saying hello, pear. Okay. And then one more of the same, a little bit different. We have a themed drawing of worms and cloud things. And it does the exact same thing. It is made in the same way. And it is also a repeating pattern. See this little blue guy? It's all connected now. And this brown glob spewing this yellow stuff. Okay. So what we need for this project is a blank white sheet of paper. And this is where we're doing all of our drawing. And we're cutting from today and taping back together. I'm choosing to do a rectangle for this drawing so that I don't have to go through the extra step of making it a square. But if you want to do a square pattern, you can make this into a square first or start with a square. It all works the exact same way. So after you have your blank white sheet of paper, you are going to fold it in half in both directions. So I'm starting by folding it in half hamburger style, and then I'll unfold it and then fold it in half hot dog style. I'm lining up the corners, trying to get it as close as I can to perfect. Using my fingers to hold it up top here with my thumbs. Press down on the folded line, and then further giving it a nice good crease, because it's really important that I know where this folded line is and that I see it clearly, because I'm eventually going to have to cut it. So once I fold it in half, I'm going to open it back up. And then I'll fold it in half the other way. So I've just folded in half hamburger style. I'm going to fold it in half hot dog style. Lining up the corners, using my fingertips to hold the paper where I want it, and then using my thumbs to give it a nice crease along the folded edge to make a nice distinct line that'll be easy to see when I cut. Okay. So once I have my paper folded in half 2 times, I now have quadrants. And I'm going to start by labeling these quadrants. Before I do any cutting or any drawing, I need to know what I'm working with. So I'm using a pencil here, and I am just going to label each of these quadrants in their corner. So I'll start with this top left one, and I'll start with an A. And you could just use a pencil for this. This will be on the back, so we won't really see it. And then we'll do a B in the top left corner. And then you could probably guess this bottom left corner will be a C. And then we'll finish off this last corner with a D. Once our quadrants, all 4 of them, are properly labeled, we're going to flip over our page and do our drawing. We want to make sure we're not doing our drawing on the side with the letters. That is reserved for the back of the drawing. We're going to flip it over, and this is where all of the drawing magic begins. So you can draw anything at this point. You can draw random shapes, you can draw animals, trees, letters, but the only rule is that you don't go all the way to the edge. You don't want any of your drawings to get all the way to the edge. So you're really just occupying all of this middle space, and it looks a lot better if you focus on drawing where these folded lines are and drawing pictures over them. So I'm going to take a minute here to just draw some random stuff. Maybe I'll draw another letter. And I'm making sure not to draw all the way to the edge. And I'm using a pencil first, and then outlining with a marker. It'll probably take about 10 minutes to do this. Okay, go ahead and pause if you need a little more time to draw and fill in this middle part. But I'm going to go ahead and continue on to the next part, which is once I've done drawing inside the center, I made sure not to draw all the way to the edge. I'm just filling up the center part, and I'm trying to draw close to the lines or on top of the lines. And maybe I'll just do a quick little circle here. There you go, that's something. Now I'm going to cut my drawing apart. And I'm going to use the guidelines that I created by folding my paper in half in both directions as a guide to cut apart. If you feel more comfortable ripping it, then you can do that by folding it in half a few more times. I think that's what I will do. So I'm going to fold it back and forth a few times, but you could also use scissors to cut on the edge as well. The key is that we're separating all 4 of these quadrants into their own pieces. Once I have all 4 of my pieces, I'm going to put them back where they were. So lining them up so it reads as A, B, C, D, just like it was from before, from when before I cut it, before it was cut. Once all of my little squares are lined up in the same way, I'm going to do some switching. So I'm going to take the A and the D first, and I'm going to switch them. So I'm taking all of the quadrants that are diagonal from each other and switching them. So the A and the D, I'm going to pick them up and switch them. So now the D is where the A was, and the A is where the D was. And I'll do the same thing with the B and the C. I'm going to pick them up and switch them. And then I'm going to line them all up in the middle so that now it reads DCBA. If you read it clockwise, cabbed. Okay. And this is where we're using one more material, and that is tape. You can use any type of tape that you choose. I'm just using masking tape. And I like to start by taping with a tiny piece of tape, just 2 of them together, and making sure all of the corners are lined up at the top here. I'll zoom in for this. It's really important that everything is lined up as nicely as I can get it to line up. And I'll take a little tiny piece of tape. Got it. And I'll start by taping just the top of the B and the A together. And then I'll get the C ready to go. Another little piece of tape, taping it to the A. And by connecting just one piece at a time, it makes it a little easier to handle. And the better our odds are that we're going to get a pattern that lines up really nicely. And the last one is the D. Hopefully he fits right in there. Let's put one across the middle. So once I have everything in place, and I've done all of my preliminary taping. I can now do bigger pieces to make sure that every open line is taped. And it's much easier to handle smaller pieces of tape than a big, long piece of tape. Okay, once my page is taped back together, when I flip it over, I now have this beautiful blank middle space that I need to fill in. And the same rule applies as before. I can draw anywhere on this page but the edge. So I can even interact with all of these other parts of the drawing here. I can put something behind these pieces or even draw over them. I just can't go all the way to the edge of the paper. So I'm going to draw some stuff in the middle, do the hand. Once you've finished drawing in the middle, you are finished with your drawing. And I guess I should point out that if you were to add color, it is easier to color in things while they're still attached. So before you cut it apart, but you could also color at the very end too. So if you wanted to fold it in, like I did these, all you have to do is fold towards the middle. So flipping the page over, you just fold towards that middle line where those two pages meet. So folding this right edge right to that middle line. And the same thing with the other side, folding right to the middle line. You potentially even use this as a wrap, where you wrap it around a tube, and it would do the same thing where it would just continue and the drawing would keep repeating and you wouldn't have a seam. Okay. So after I folded these two edges, and I'm going to open it up, fold the bottom edges in too, right to that middle line where the pieces were originally cut apart. And everything lines up. And that's it. Thank you.